Okay, welcome to another Backyard Professor Chess video, where, like maniacs, we look at a lot of chess. Why not? Someone's got to do it. We're going to play a game by Portisch and Smyslov. This was the candidates playoff match in Portisch in 1971. Through time of looking through a lot of Grandmaster games, I have discovered that Smyslov is exceptionally fabulous to play through. He would be fun to play too. He would walk all over you, but he was so good. He plays a French defense, or a Dutch defense. I'm getting my nationalities mixed up, you know. One's in the south, one's in the north. Some are in the west, some are in the east, some are southeast, north, south, east, wherever. This is an incredible Dutch defense against Portisch that surprised quite a lot of people. They did not expect him to play the Dutch, and yet Smyslov played the Dutch. He not only played the Dutch, he played the Dutch exceptionally well. Bishop g2, fianchettoing the bishop, g6. Smyslov is also going to fianchetto. He's playing the black. And now knight f3. I get this out of Jan Timman's book, The Art of Chess Analysis, where he really goes through a trillion variations. I simply don't have time to show you all the nuances of the games. Every chess game has a billion variations anyway, but there are some things in this game that is well worth noticing. That is really delightful. There's some odd moves being played. And there are reasons, there are always reasons, of course. He brings his bishop up in a fianchetto, and now Portisch is going to fianchetto both his bishops in this particular game. So Smyslov says, okay, castle, castle early. Let's just get that done right now. And of course, if you're going to push the G3 or the B3, or conversely the B6 or the G6, go ahead and fianchetto. I mean, that's the intention, that's the point. Fianchetto the bishop. That's just how this works. Now, D5. And he says it's a very unusual move in this position. Known variations are the D6 and then white will castle. But in this instance, Smyslov goes out of book. See, this was back when chess was played with the intent to win, not just draw and draw and draw and draw and bump up your rating by 3 points, impressing everyone with a number instead of with your chess play. These guys were playing for real. It's good stuff. Time to turn the page of the book. Okay. Let's see here. Where are we? C4. Now it's a battle for the center, of course. And Smyslov doesn't immediately take the pawn, but he leaves the pressure and builds up the center as well. And now Portisch is going to castle as well. And another unusual move that Smyslov made in the Dutch is the bishop here to e6. And now the first excursion into the other player's side. They've met in the center, and now Portisch wants to come into Smyslov's territory, and so he brings the bishop down. And he brings out another piece, which is always good chess, and Smyslov develops his queen to here. You can kind of see what he's trying to do here. It'll give his queen more room to maneuver, and it will put her in a better place than Portisch's queen. Right? And here we go. He said, okay, let's make up your mind. Are you going to move your knight back, or are you going to take my bishop? Let's see what you're going to do. Knight takes f7, he takes the bishop. And now we know why Smyslov moved his queen over, because he's going to retake with the queen and not the rook. Keeping his eye on the center. Very nice, very nice. And now Portisch goes f3, and Smyslov goes to the d7. Now from here on out, you're going to see something remarkable from Smyslov. And this is one reason why I wanted to show you this game. I don't know if this game has ever been shown on YouTube yet. I don't know. But it deserves to be better known because it's so fabulous. And it's not because it's an attack game, it's because of the principles involved in how Smyslov played. A natural looking move, e4, and yet that's the bad move for Portisch. From here out, Smyslov rules with an iron hand. And it is incredible because he's doing everything correct. Number one, his pawn is backward. Number two, that leaves a hole here, a weak square. The way to get rid of the square is push the pawn. Number three, he's challenging the center. He's supported here, here, here. You know, technically here, from back here. It looks like a perfectly natural move, and yet watch how Smyslov handles this. I haven't quite seen chess played like this before, and that was one of the things that caught my eye. I said, aha, that is worth showing everybody. The pawn takes the C pawn. The beginning of a fascinating lesson. B takes C. And now knight to B6 with an exclamation point. And here's the idea. White is suddenly in great difficulty, Timmons says. The pawns on C4 and D4 are weak, and the queen is uncomfortably situated on D3, meaning there's no pawns to support these two pawns. They will have to be supported by pieces. Unfortunately, the piece is a queen that has no protection. So that square is not the best square for the queen. And yet, it is so centralized. But because the queen is backing up these two pawns, they're weak. They don't have much support. In other words, not to put too fine a point on it, but they're targets. Silman says, get target conscious. Yes, watch how Smyslov does this. This is exquisite, yes. This is simply magnifico. Well, all right. Fine. He's hitting the weak pawn. That's the point of this move. Bam, he's hitting the weak pawn. And now Portisch loses his way. This move gives away the whole queen side. Smyslov was one heck of a great calculator. I wish that's one of the things I'm going to try to work on this next year. At least be able to calculate one move in advance. That would really help my chess. So I'm going to try that. Knight goes ahead and goes to C4 now anyway, protected by the queen. Now notice all of a sudden the queen diagonal is extremely strong. Isn't that interesting how things change with just a couple of moves, right? So he's hitting the bishop. The bishop goes down to C1. And now, what do you see? Smyslov on a partial open file, but it's open for him. He is able to use it as an attack against a weak pawn. That, unfortunately for Portisch, is defended by the queen, which can be chased away. So, Portisch's center, he's being hit here. Yes, he's supported, but he's being hit here and hit here. His center is in trouble, is what's happening. Rook comes to B1. Now Portisch grabs him an open file. Hey, that's a target. The B pawn is a target for sure. That is an open file for sure. So they're playing good chess. Unfortunately, Smyslov has the best of this. Knight bumps to D7, and now D5 comes up. And here is where, well, I'll read Timmons' idea. He says, White was probably relying on this move, but it was the response of Black that completely rocked him. And what Black did is he went ahead and pushed the B pawn. Bam. He's going to keep that knight there. Period. End of discussion. That's a fabulous outpost. You'll notice most of the pieces are over on the queen side of White, and Smyslov is not having to attack the king, and yet he's got one screaming heck of a position here that he can attack from afar, while he's got close pieces and centralized pieces, as well as a piece that can cut the board right in half if he needs to. That's a very interesting attack situation, isn't it? It's kind of fun to see the varieties of methods, and this is a very logical move, he says. And now, D takes C6. Look at those two pawns. Yeah, they're doubled up on the C file. But man, they're both passed pawns, and he's hitting the knight. He's going to be able to move down and hit the rook. Perhaps put the rook on C8 and make him a defensive player instead of an offensive player. So this is kind of an interesting look, isn't it? Two passed pawns past the fourth rank. That's quite interesting. Really interesting. However, knight takes the C5. Look at those knights. Mwah! Hitting the queen. The queen's got to dodge out. So she goes back behind her trusty steed. And now Smyslov makes sure this arrangement is permanent. I want it permanent. I want it now, and I want it in 16 moves from now, because I like the position, yes. Magnifico. Yeah, very good, very good. What do you do? This is White. Yeah, well, okay. All right, let's look. Maintain as much control as you can. Give yourself some space. F4. Kapow! Get rid of one of the pieces. That was the whole point of having that bishop on that long diagonal. Zippity-doo-dah, zippity-yay. My, oh my, it's a sacrifice day. That wasn't a sacrifice, though. That was an exchange. A very important one. Now, from here, knight will take the central pawn on another outpost. Look at the mirror symmetry of the knights on their outposts right there in that center. Wow. I mean, that is really something to behold. That's so good that Portisch has to change something out. Truly. He's got his bishop here, and I know, see, it is the defender of the king, and the king is not directly attacked, but he will be. So he has to change out that knight. That was too powerful to leave. There is no way. Smyslov is just getting Portisch whittled down more and more. And now he comes up to A4. He's going to try like crazy to penetrate and break up this fabulous structure. Can he do it? Smyslov says no. because I'm going to centralize my queen on the open file with my rook backing me up, and we're heading to town. Look at that powerful center. True, Portisch has a passed pawn. False, it's not going to play a role in this game. That's true. It's not a good passed pawn. It doesn't mean a pea-picking thing. Neither did the other one. You notice it's gone already. So, dang it, man. Bad news for Portisch. Okay, what do? Well, you try to get rid of this particular structure, and you still can't get it done. You just cannot eliminate the structure, which really sucks if you're white. Pawn bishop 2, and now the rook lift. Rook f6. Of course, you can see him hitting that passed pawn, there's no question. But there's also another possibility here of doubling up the rooks and coming up toward the king side. No, it's not an open file yet, but that's a fabulous rook lift. It really is. Okay, so the reason he lifted the rook also is because with the queen and the bishop behind him, there's your checkmate square, right? So Portisch is, hopefully, Smyslov is paying more attention over here, worrying about this passed pawn than his king, but Smyslov caught on, and he said, nope, I'm going to put my rook right there and eliminate that checkmate possibility. So we have a tight game here. It's a very tight game. Portisch wants to maintain that possibility of that attack on that side. So he just bumps his bishop back, and now Smyslov says, well, let's go check. Let's go check to the king, and the king has to go over to h1, of course. And then let's get rid of this little pesky fellow. Single-handedly, systematically, just playing good chess. That's what Smyslov does. From here on out, rook b to d1, grab the file. Don't let him have it. If I can't have it, then neither can you, is the attitude here, right? e3, discovered check. Whew. You can see where that black pawn's heading too, can't you? Look at the fork on those two rooks that pawn's going to be able to do really quick. The queen can't take the pawn right now because the king's in check, a discovered check. That is a screaming setup, isn't it? Oh, wow. 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 Holy cow. King can only go to g1 at this point, however. Rook. Whee! Wow! That's even stronger than putting on the rook fork with the pawn, isn't it? That is staggeringly incredible. What an insight into how to work with a passed pawn like that. That is amazing. What? You got no choice. You have to take that rook. Really, you do. And now you've got a protected passed pawn from your incredibly wonderful posted knight on the outpost that is backed up with a queen that is zipping along the entire diagonal of the board toward the king. Wow. Portisch has his work cut out for him, doesn't he? Holy shit, shka, and Bob. Well, all right. Centralize, centralize, centralize. Here's the catch. The rook says, nope. My file. This is a great illustration, isn't it? Not only of knight outposts and their influence, but of the open files. The queen can take it over, but she's the easiest to chase away because she's the most powerful one. And the best way to chase a queen off your file is with the rook, of course. So the rook has to bow off the file and say, oh, okay, hold on. And now watch. Kablam! Here comes another pawn. That backward e-pawn for the entire game, we're on move 34, and Portisch never could find a way to attack that serious weakness, that wonderfully weird backward e-pawn, because he was being outplayed on the queen side, and now, at the end of the game, the pawn becomes a powerhouse. It goes from instant punk to Superman. That is so Smyslov. Great chess to watch here. You have to block the pawn. Now Portisch's rook is forced. He had two passed pawns down here together, and he never could make it, so that Smyslov played defense. Smyslov has turned the tables, and now Portisch is, with his single rook, his only left rook, now he's playing defense. That is not good. But you got no other choice, otherwise he's going to queen, right? Queen c5, again check to the king. King once again goes to h1. And now comes the most interesting move. You're black. The bishop, yeah, he has a long diagonal. It stopped at this point. Its influence is minimum. You got a defensive rook. The queen really isn't all that supported. She's pretty easy to chase off with either the rook or the knight, so that you can buff it around the queen a lot. You're black. Where would you move? What do you do now? Really an interesting move that Smyslov makes. Observe how the Grandmaster does a grand move. Yeah. Queen e3. I mean, when you've got the power, use it, man. Right? What a move. What a move. And Portisch goes f takes e5. Threatening the rook. And you go, what? Whoa! What? No, come on, take that back, Shirts. Hold on. Hold on. No way. No way. Take the cotton-picking queen, you moron. No way. No way. He can't. He can't because of this. Now the rook has to move, and you get a queen. And you're going to take that rook. Because, of course, the rook is going to move over to here first. Then when you queen, then the rook will take it. But see, he loses a rook. If he takes the queen, he loses the rook. So the queen can't be touched. Nope, not this time. So Portisch did what he could, as best he could, and took the pawn to threaten the rook. Okay, your rook's threatened. Do you react to your opponent's threat, or do you look for a better move? Well, okay. What else do you have? Oh, whoop. I put those backwards like a dork. Hello, moron. Boy, you know, some of these chess amateurs really piss us worse chess amateurs off, right? That's better. I knew something looked funny. Oh my. Dorkhood prevails, yes. So you're black and you're in a truly winning position here. You've got all the cards. What's your next move? What do? Do you go, hey, look, checkmate? No, that's something the idiot here would do. Don't do that. It's not worth it. Do you do this? That's tempting, but ultimately, no, that loses. That actually loses. Because the rook will take, then you take queen, and then the queen takes. So that's not the way to do this. No and no. Do you take the queen? Hey! Not bad, not bad. But then the problem is the bishop takes, and you know the next move, no matter what you do, the bishop is going to take that pawn. So yeah, he'll lose the bishop, but he'll keep the rook and hopefully get a drawing chance. So, no, taking the queen is probably, boy, I did that twice. What an idiot. I'm going to have to learn how to spell the word chess. I can't even rearrange the board correctly. Smyslov went like this. And he goes, got shot. And Portisch goes, whoo. And he resigned. Now that game is simply wonderful. I played through it quite a few times. It's really good. It's fun. It's worth trying to grasp how that was put together. The fundamental principles that actually made this work are what Jeremy Silman has identified as imbalances. No, I mean for real, seriously. The open files and the knights need advanced outposts that are supported by pawns. Two critical ways of playing in a good chess game, and because Smyslov had that one magnificent knight here on an outpost and this knight on an outpost that lasted throughout the game. I want you to observe this. We're at the end of the game and that outpost was put way back in the early middle of the game. It's been there the whole time, and look at the influence it had. Yeah, don't tell me this stuff doesn't work. Just watch how the Grandmasters play it and watch the results and the effects on your opponent when we play like this. Yeah? Yeah, I'm just saying. That's fabulous chess. So, anyway, there's your video. There's your game to watch, study, and learn from, and then begin to incorporate into your own game. So, thanks for watching my videos. It's a lot of fun to make these, man. I know I'm getting more music too. I'll do more music backgrounds for those of you who are aficionados. Oh, what the hell's that word? Oh, heck with it. For those of you who like music, yeah, that's the word. Stop having so much fun. This is chess. It's dull. It's boring. Now knock off with the laughter. Knock off with the joy. Drop the enthusiasm. Quit imagining that you really like this stupid crap. Bore yourself to death with just dry as dirt analysis. That is how chess is learned. Backyard Professor